All right, guess what? More Eisenhower. I remember the days. I feel you. When your table is just nonstop E's and N's and O's and W's just for days as you're redoing all the letters, all the font change, and you're just nonstop welding reverse channel letters. Eisenhower. So anyway, so same thing. They're changing out like everything else. So it's no longer Eisenhower that used to just chill right here. It's now Eisenhower Health. But just like the past is prologue, just like we're in 2009, we're doing what we did in Loma Linda. So you can see where it has this fancy wall system. We had to go out and put supports up first onto the wall. And then the guys put the wall system around it. And then we put our letters on there. So we're having to reuse the same wall system that held the word Eisenhower to hold the word Eisenhower Health. So that's kind of what you guys have going on. But instead of pokey threaded studs, it just has to sit on some 2x2s. So this is where the 2x2s land. And then your 2x2 by 3/16 is going to sit on the top ones. And then the bottom one has got to fit inside of it. And then you're going to shoot 1/4-20s to hold everything up. So that's the whole idea. So you guys kind of know what's up. You can see where the other kind of the square tube boys kind of sat with all the rest of the letters. So thankfully we don't have to redo all that. So there's a little bit of something if you want to see what's up. But you can see where we need to get that screw through the tube and then into our tube. So that's kind of how that has to work out. So with that being said, let's go over the lay of the land here. So we got our panels. So there's not a lot going on. It's just some fiddly parts. But the idea is you have a backer, but because we have to have access to all these tubes, and then we have to also stuff, 50 pounds of wiring into 10 pounds sack, there's a lot of kind of tricky we got to do. So I just want to point out the stuff to make it work. So I broke it up where Eisenhower, the word, is a 2-parter, but that's all the parts for that. And then the backer for health is on its own page. So these are all the things. Now, just so you guys know, these door access panel boys here are technically, there's only one on this side, but they are the same. So you don't have to worry about too much. Even these little guys here. So everything that's purple and it has the 2 clipped sides, that's the side that goes onto here. And then the round side is for the door. So these little boys here are to take removable doors off. So when you take all these parts, I didn't bother having to label each of these. There was already enough labeling. So, but these doors and little purple boys are the same here. And even this one, obviously, though, the power doors are different. I have those labeled. You're going to have to take, and then, health is even bigger. But anyway, so we'll go over all that. But those doors are all the same. And then these are just the weird parts. We have switches. I'm going to go over that. Got different switches. And then these are drill guides. I gave you a couple extra just to have, but these are the same drill guides for everything except for one spot. You have a custom boy drill guide. I'll go over that. And then this is something I want to try out. These are going to be Lord's Inn little braces, but I kind of put them all on one. So we'll see how that works. The Eisenhower letters, you got that. This is just regular old channel letters. Unfortunately for you guys, just that part of it is just channel letters. You guys got that down. However, because of where the brace fell, there's nothing I could do to move it. So you do have 2 different H's. So keep an eye out for H number 1 has the power on the right side. And then H number 2 goes on health, and that has the power on the left side. So look for number 2, number 1. But otherwise, everything else is the same. But unfortunately, I couldn't move the brace. It was in the way. There was nothing I could do. So, and then, of course, you have your 3-inch there. So, but that's that. Fine. So what I wanted to talk about, though, is all the funk that's going on here. Again, you're just making contour backers, but the way we have to do it, because you have to access the tubing in order to shoot screws, we have to figure out how to run power, and just the way this whole thing's going together. I just wanted to explain the funk, because you know how we do. We get down with the funk because everything's on the one. So where we start is let's make the backers. So you have essentially where I made the backers foldable to take care of a majority of the work. So on Eisenhower, it of course has to be in 2 pieces. It's too big. But you can just bend the bottom, and then you can bend the bottom and the top of this, and that helps take care of a lot. So there you go. You're done. You're done with that. And then on the pieces here, I tried to make it where it's easy for you guys, because I kind of came in and rounded off a lot of the corners that I could for you guys, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But I went ahead and labeled everything, and it should all be cut to size to help you guys out. But the way I see it is, what I would do is you're going to rivet together where you can. You can rivet 6 to 7. Again, let me start with this one. This one, you definitely have to do a lot more all the way around. You're actually putting the return all the way around. So what I was talking about is go ahead and get all this riveted together. Go ahead and cleco together this top bit, but I would go ahead and tack together and put the door on as one piece. That way it's where it's supposed to be. Then come around, and then you're going to go ahead and tack or rivet together A to L. And then you can see here where this is what I was talking about. So this one isn't so bad. This one just kind of follows. There's no reason. But this is what I was talking about, is that I went ahead and did you guys a solid, and just because this whole thing's a removable door, B, C, and D is an entire removable door to get to the access hole. But instead of trying to hit that target, and then when install's up there trying to get all that taken care of, I just went ahead and squared it off for you guys. Same thing here. I didn't make you guys follow this kind of thing. You're just going to come across, and then you can rivet, F to E to G. You can just go ahead and rivet that, and that saves you guys having that drama. And then you can go ahead and just put it all together. But that's what I'm suggesting you do, especially on H, on health. This is kind of what I was talking about, is you're going to go ahead and rivet this part together, and then you can cleco this strip, get this all on there. I would frap the door together, bring it around, and then go ahead and get this door riveted together, and it's going to look like this little weird flapping bird thing. But you can go ahead and get those tacked here, and then go ahead and put the door on, and then follow it to E, get this all put together, and then that way everything is where it's supposed to be, and then you can tack it and then burn it and get it on there. But I'm afraid that if you just start with H and tack, by the time everything shrinks and warps, you might get up here and be kind of sad. And then J might come up short because everything's shrinking. So what I would, like I said, I kind of had this designed where you can put a rivet. I have it on the inside. Go ahead and rivet it, and then bring it around, and then, like I say, assemble everything. Same thing with this one. The difference is on this guy, I gave you guys an out for just a little chunk 050. So when you do the round part here, you should be able to tack it to your 1 and tack it to your 1 there. And that gives you that ability to get that kind of taken care of. So I didn't want you guys fighting that out of 090. That's kind of rubbish. So, but you're just going to go ahead and cleco and tack together the corners that are bondoable. But everything that's internal has a rivet. So that way you can just get it done quickly and get it all sexy. So hopefully that works out for you. And then that way you get like I say, you're going to tack together your little spots for your doors. You tack those in there. The clipped corners go to the inside. The round boys go to the outside. But yeah, just get all your returns taken care of. Get your doors set. Get everything sexy. Bring this around. Then you got your long power doors. That's all that is that's just where the power supply and the switch is going to be. But otherwise, get these guys all in one. Then it's time for the frames. So the frames are just 2x2 by 3/16. This is specified by YJ, so make sure it's 2x2 by 1/8 is out. Quarter would be a little too heavy, but if you don't have 3/16, let's bring it in. So 2x2 by 3/16, cut it up, and then it's a 2-part deal. So what you're going to want to do while they're still loose before you weld it all together, that way you can work with these easy, because you might want to take these to the drill press, or you might want to fight these on your table. I don't know, but I brought in some hole saws, and we're going to do 3 inch and 3/8 hole saws, and then you're going to use the layouts that I was telling you about. I got you a couple of them. I have quantity 7 just because there's 7 of these holes. You don't need quantity templates. So on the center of the template is where you're going to mark your measurements. So I gave you guys these guys in PDFs. So this is step 1 of the big boy, and this is step 1 of the little boy. So while these are apart, you're just going to follow the layouts. You're going to start from one end and do 14, 37.5, and 35.5, and then use the center line. And on the top of the top and on the bottom of the bottom, you're going to do the hole saws. So do your 1/4 inch. Well, you can do 5/32 holes, do 3 of them. And then you can do 1/4 inch, and then do your hole saws on the top. and then you're just going to connect the dots with a jigsaw or whatever. And then on the bottom, we're going to give them a single. That's what this is for. You're going to give them a single 5/16, because that will give them a 1/4 20 shoot through frap into the existing tubing that's on the wall. So that's the whole idea behind that. So on the top side, you're going to do the whole cutout, and then the bottom you'll do you'll follow this hole through to a 5/16. Now the idea is that should everything work out perfectly, you should be able to put that on there, and then that hole you give them in the center will be right there, bam. But if they have to slide it left or right, hence why I'm giving them such a big door here. So if they have to move the whole thing over 1 inch or 2 inches, and it all has to slide over or whatever, they can still hit this tubing with their self-tapper. They will have to just make their own hole, but okay. But anyway, so that's the whole idea behind that. So the top bar, the guys go to the top, and then you're going to follow through on the other side with a hole. And then on the bottom one, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to do the layout. So I have 2 1/4 to get this one going. And then you have 71, and then that's the center of this one. And then you're 78 3/4 to here. Or if you want to go from here, 78 3/4 to there, and it's 71 to the center of this one. Now that's the one that's funky. If we go back over here, you can see where this is it right here. Not a lot of room, kind of funk going on. We do need to have that slottable, movable thing. So hence the custom boy. So go find the custom boy. And then if you start at 2 1/4 from the edge, bonk, that gives you this. So what you're going to do is it's the same this way, but it gives you the ability to go all the way out. So you're just going to go off the tube there. That way they have full opening there. It allows for if there's power coming through, whatever. So that's how you're going to do it on this. For Eisenhower and for health, it's the same thing. You're just going to go from like this side, you're going to go 8 1/2, connect the dots, do your 2 hole saws, do your little hole in the bottom, and then flip it over. And then you're going to do hole this way and, 5/16 on that side. So I got you all your layouts. I did them in separate PDFs for you guys. So you're going to do that. Now, before you weld, don't get to welding yet, because you also have to do the power layout. So there's a couple more hole saws for that, and you can lay out where your keystone is going to go. We got to use keystones. The funk that was going on with this was back in the day, we didn't really do remote power supplies yet, or we just didn't know how, or the fact that we couldn't in this tower, I don't know. So the only way we could do it back in the day, because keystones weren't around, so the smallest power supply we had was those plastic Sloan 20 watters, right? So what we ended up doing is putting the Sloan 20 water inside the letter. Yeah, nightmare. And then that 20 water would just run a couple letters. So every few letters, we have a 20 water stuffed in there, which is kind of silly to be doing now. I thought about investigating whether we just turn this set into remote. That would be great. But in order to just kind of save that, we do have 120 on the outside of the wall. So instead, we're just kind of doing our own little layout system with a keystone. And the keystone is going to be on the bottom, so it's accessible. So that's what these long boys are for. So you can see a keystone is going to go on the bottom side of the bar. And then the switch is also going to go there. And I'll tell you about that in a sec. So that's the idea. So Eisenhower, I'm pretty sure one keystone can run the word Eisenhower. I hope it can. If not, we're going to have to figure out how to stuff 2 of them right there. But if not, and then health will have its own keystone. And then I kind of kept them central to both. So that way, I don't know, whatever power tube we have, but install is going to have to, from one of these tubes, I don't know which one has power, but there is 120 at one of these predetermined tubes. Hopefully it's this one. That'd be great if this has power. So anyway, so once you get the actual structural connect the dot boys laid out, then do the power layout. And by the power layout, what you're going to do is on the bottom one, on the same side facing down and up, like these guys, you're just going to take that same 1 3/8 power hole saw, and you're going to go all the way through both sides. And what that's going to do is allow them to run the secondary through one of these holes or this side, and then also can bring primary through and allow that, allow access essentially. So if you kind of follow this on the bottom side, 3 3/4, 2 2 1/4, and that right there will give you room to put kind of equidistant between the holes. You can shoot on your keystone, and then you can also, and then don't forget to do holes for ground and bonding. And then you can do the 2 holes for the switch, just center it up in the tube. All of this is just kind of centered in the center of the tube. And then that's your switch holder. So for the switches, because we hit in switches, I went ahead and brought, and I'm pretty sure, I'm sure UL is no switch period. There's probably no way out of it. But these are McMaster-Carr. These are IP. Yes, I do. IP67. These are water submersible switches. So theoretically, these are totally waterproof, ready to go, but beyond wet location. However, I'm sure that there's some rule to period. It doesn't matter what kind of switch you use, but we're going with this. So you're just going to fold this part up. I'm just going to do a tension fit. So you're just going to overcook this. That way it really slides on there, really, really snugly. And then this right here that's where they're going to go. So you're just going to pre-mount this part here, and then hopefully all this works out. So keep an eye out for these. These are actually already on site. Sold the hole saws. I got you some hole saws just so you have some fresh ones. So that's what you're going to do is get all this laid out, get this cut out, and then do the power layout. The next step, go ahead and saw through those, get those sexy. And then once those are all taken care of and you have the switch and everything, then that's when it's time to like burn, just burn, baby, burn. So everything is going to be face down on your table. So that's how you're going to kind of look at it. So like for Eisenhower, the E's over here, the R's over here. So everything starts fresh and even on one side. And then you'll have one side that's longer than the other by 4 inches. So, and then all of this is on center of your middle parts. So all your middle boys are on center. And then I purposely made it to where everything is nice and even numbers for you guys. So if you start on this side, 3 inch on center, that gets the party started. So you have a bunch of 22s, then you have a couple 19s, and then it tapers to 18. That's going to give you this guy. And that'll be after you get everything, all your holes cut. And then on this guy, you start on this side, but this guy's even, is a ladder. So you got 3 on this side, 2 on this side though. So 3, 16, work your way across. And then once you get everything all burned, and the other thing too is just table side. You're going to take your 1x2 and you're going to have the 2 on the flat, and then you're going to push it to your table. So that way we have this 1 inch spacing to run wires. So that way, all your wiring can run along these 2x along, but we have an inch worth of play, a little crevice there, a little space. And then you're going to zip tie everything down, make it look real clean. Then same thing there. So push everything to your table. Go ahead and burn, baby, burn. Side fillets. Go ahead and burn across the back. Make sure this thing's nice and strong. And then that's the final step. Is once you have everything built and you kind of get rid of any boogers or any kind of weld boogers, anything, make sure everything's really good. Then I went ahead and made the reference kiss marks. They're a little bit oversized, so that way you can hit your mark. And you're just going to take your ladder frames that you welded together and one big Lord's party. You're just going to Lords it in there really good. Make sure you hit those marks. And then everything should be sexy. Then the last step is just to protect this bottom edge, because I have a feeling, this whole thing is going to go up as 1. And then it's going to have to sit we're going to either have to take the Indio letters rack or something and kind of modify it, but they're going to have to take that up there. So this is going to be all this weight is going to be on this bottom lip. So I made these little strengtheners, these little supports. You're just going to Lords those in after. So once you have everything all done, you have your ladders in there, everything's sexy, everything is Lords together. Then you're just going to slip these in there with a Lord's party and get those in there. So what I wanted to do is I took a note from these guys doing everything as 1, because we do it on the 1. Rather than have you guys sit there and bend every one of these. So we're going to try this. You're just going to do it all as 1, rivet everything together as 1, rivet, and then just run it through the bandsaw and just saw everything up. You don't need to go twice. It doesn't need to be all cleaned up. I think if you just go right down the center, just make sure you don't, nothing gets you. Be careful. Don't get sharp. Don't get cut. But we'll see how that works out. If it works out good, then we'll try it. I'll try to remember to do this kind of thing when you have a lot of little parts. Maybe we can try to put them together, bend it as 1, and then cut apart later. Save that labor. Save that labor. Okay, so a lot going on as far as all this, but talk, I know. But I think you guys got it. Just want to make sure you guys see what's up with all this stuff. But anyway, so if you have any questions, nothing fits, something's messed up, let me know. But hopefully it's all good, and we're all counting on you. Check.